Welcome back and hello if you're new. So to finalise my July 13th release extravaganza, I wanted to introduce you guys to a brand new band that I'd not really heard of before. Following their record Terms of Surrender, Black Fast return with their brand new album Specter of Ruin. So imagine if Immortal and Power Trip met at Maryland Deathfest, and you've got a rough idea of what Black Fast sound like. Made up of 9 tracks, their brand new album, Spectre of Ruin, is an absolute fantastic tour de force. To be perfectly honest, one of the biggest elements I think in the band are the drums. The band play a style of metal which is kind of black metal with thrash overtones, really. It's kind of old school thrash style drums, and that's a big part of the overall vibe that Black Fast give. For example, in the second verse of Silhouette Usurper, there's this real sense of build up and real kind of energy, you know, the way that Power Trip have that sort of energy. And the drums move forward to kind of like really big, airy hits. For example, the ending of Scarecrow and Spectre has got this fantastic element of how the drums really bring it together. It's also seen on the single Cloak of Lies, where the drums really tie the song together in terms of how it's written. So you've got these kind of like unrelenting double pedal sections, but then there are slow but sure kind of changes in the dynamics that increase the tension as it's going. However, probably one of the biggest plus points of Black Fast are their riffs, and there are some absolutely massive riffs on this album. The beginning riff of Scarecrow and Spectre is absolutely huge and creates such a kind of movement behind the band. The final section of Temple of Leviathan has got a riff which is good enough for you to purchase the album in its own right. Crescent Aberration has also got a huge hulking riff, but there's also evidence of that on Husk as well. But I think another big thing that Black Fast do incredibly well is create this really kind of almost Edgar Allan Poe malevolent atmosphere. For example, in Mist of Ruin, there are some really kind of creepy note choices with cadences that don't quite resolve. And again, there's a moody atmosphere in the intro of Husk, which you can see here. There's a rumor that you're speaking in tongues. That you've lost all control. And Phantom I Am has got this midsection which almost goes a little bit Revocation style, you know, where the groove really comes in. But another thing that I wanted to touch on is the importance of hammer-ons, especially in the single Cloak of Lies, because overall it's very simplistic riff, but there are these small little placed hammer-ons that build that melodic tension in the track. There are also some amazing lead guitar lines that kind of peek through with these melodies. For example, in Silhouette Usurper, it's only a small amount, but it's enough to give you a bit of a taste of it and creates a great contrast against the battering ram riff. There's a little bit more tremolo as well on the final track, Husk, which you can hear. It adds a bit more colour and overall enhances the atmosphere of what Black Fast are trying to do. There's potentially one of the best guitar solos on Scarecrow and Spectre. Honestly, it's one of those ones where, you know, you hear a guitar solo and you really want it to go a certain way and it does exactly what you want it to. It's incredibly technical with loads of sweeps, but there's also a fantastic one on Silhouette Usurper. But they also know exactly how to get into the next section, which is the final part of that solo on Silhouette Usurper. also, in terms of dynamics, there are these huge dropouts which the band operate on. Again, another way of keeping a very simple riff quite refreshing. So for example, at the end of Husk, and also at the end of Cloak of Lies, there are these massive dropout sections. In terms of the vocals, they're overall quite screechy and high-pitched and reminded me somewhat of like Vector. They're not too overbearing with the rest of the music, I find, and sit really perfectly, especially in the mix, which, I forgot to mention, is actually handled by Eric Rutan of Mana Studios and of Hate Eternal. In terms of the lyrics, I felt that there was a real kind of Edgar Allan Poe vibe going on here, with a lot of spookiness, a lot of ghosts. You know, the word spectre is used like pretty much the whole time. In terms of negatives, I would say that it can be somewhat one-dimensional. They do create riffs very, very well, and there are various different dynamics that the band employ to try and kind of keep them evolving. However, it can be a little bit samey. So if you're not a massive fan of thrash, if you're not a massive fan of black metal, there may be a little bit less for you to enjoy here. In terms of the artwork, I really, really enjoyed the artwork. I like this idea of the spookiness, that sort of like fluorescent green that's almost kind of quite ethereal, but also working with these, you know, the shades of black. I think it's really, really interesting, and it fits the music absolutely perfectly. Blackfast are onto something for sure. However, if you don't like that sort of thing, then this could be maybe a little bit one-dimensional for you. For that reason, I'm going to give this record a 3.5 out of 5. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Also, make sure to turn on that notification bell so that you can see when I upload. Drop a comment, let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys next week for another review. Thank you so much for watching. Alright.